Coming up on Network Africa, President Bola Tinubu swears in Justice Kekere-Ekun as Acting Chief Justice of Nigeria. 500,000 Sudanese people to benefit from the World Food Programme Humanitarian Aid ready to move in through the newly reopened route. Plus, Somalia threatens to suspend Ethiopian Airlines flights amid territorial dispute. Hello and welcome to the program today. I'm Layo Olarinde. Thank you so much for joining us. We begin here in Nigeria, where President Bola Tinubu has sworn in Justice Kekere-Ekun as the acting Chief Justice of Nigeria, pending approval by the Senate. Justice Kekere-Ekun succeeds Justice Olukayode Ariwola, who bowed out of service on Thursday after attaining the mandatory retirement age of 70. Justice Kekere-Ekun is one of the top female justices in the nation's apex court and is the 23rd Chief Justice of Nigeria, also the second female CJN. She took the oath of office and signed the oath register this morning at the Council Chamber of the State House in Abuja.
It's going to be later confirmed by the Senate before she will take the full designation as the Chief Justice of Nigeria.
Still in Nigeria, the Sultan of Sokoto, His Eminence Alhaji Muhammad Saad Abubakar III, is urging the federal government to put in place the necessary infrastructure to ensure the proper structuring of the Almajiri system of education. He stated this when he received the management of the National Commission for Almajiri and Out-of-School Children's Education in his palace in Sokoto State. The Sultan, who is also the President General Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs, pledged to support the Commission's plan to convene a national dialogue on out-of-school children in Nigeria.
The management of the National Commission for Almajiri Education and Out-of-School Children are in the palace of the Sultan of Sokoto for a courtesy visit as part of the Commission's advocacy to reduce the number of out-of-school children in the country. The Sultan of Sokoto, who is also the President of the Nigeria Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs, believes the task of getting the children off the streets can be achieved if the system is properly structured.
We have no choice but to support them. Because our work is their work, and we must all put hands together to make this work succeed. As they have already said, we have all seen the beginning of 1st October protest. Some places it was not important, it was rioting. In some places it was pure theft of people's hard-earned properties. So many places, so many things. And we have seen also on television screens and social media, the youth that stormed out. Those who are supposed to be in school, they are the ones on the streets. Why? Because of hunger. And you can't go and feed yourself with a stolen loot, the loot of some other person's sweat.
The Commission wants states to enact laws that will criminalize street begging under the guise of Islamic education.
For you to plan well, you have to have a data that is cogent and verifiable. And to get a data that is cogent and verifiable, as I describe it, you definitely need the assistance of the traditional rulers, who are the custodian of our heritage, the custodian of our values, and who are close to the people on the ground. We are going to take advantage of the passion His Excellency is having and the political will to talk to state assemblies to have on ground legislative exercise that will actually guide the practice of the Karatun Allo as against what is happening now.
The Commission says it is working to compile a reliable data of Almajiri and out-of-school children in the country, as well as convene a national dialogue to address the menace.
Away from Nigeria, the first World Food Programme food supplies destined for desperate communities in Sudan's Darfur have crossed the Adre border from Chad after it was reopened by the Sudanese authorities following a 6-month closure. The WFP trucks carried sorghum, pulses, oil and rice destined for 13,000 people at the risk of famine in Kekere-Ekun, West Darfur. WFP has food and nutrition supplies for around 500,000 people ready to move swiftly through the newly reopened route. The Adre crossing from Chad is set to be the most effective and shortest route to deliver humanitarian assistance into Sudan, and particularly the Darfur region, at the scale and speed required to respond to the huge hunger crisis in the region. From Adre, trucks can cross into Darfur and also reach key distribution points on the very same day.
These trucks are the 13th month to cross from Chad into Sudan at the Adre border post. And this is a very good news because this corridor is the easiest and the fastest for humanitarian aid to reach populations in critical need in Darfur.
In the meantime, the UN Refugee Agency, UNHCR, says it is working with the government of South Sudan and partners to transport refugees to existing camps in the country. In May last year, refugees were relocated to Maban County, about 300 kilometers to the southeast. Here, refugees have access to services like healthcare, schools, psychosocial support, and food rations, among other services. Families are also allocated a plot of land with improved houses. 10 million people are said to have been forcibly displaced since Sudan's newest conflict began. Of these, around 2 million have sought refuge in neighboring countries, including South Sudan, which is already reeling from the impacts of climate change, food insecurity, and intercommunal conflict.
UNHCR, through our implementing partners, have constructed number of temporary shelters where refugees are now settled in, and most of the refugees who have the capacity in the meantime, you'll find some of them are modifying shelters to the standard that they feel is okay with them. And within the camp settlement, we have different services that are being provided by different humanitarian agencies on different semantic areas. For example, we have health services that are available. We also have education.
Juma Majanga is the VOA's reporter who's been monitoring the situation in Sudan. He joins us now from Nairobi, Kenya. Hello, Juma. Thank you so much for your time. Let's begin with the humanitarian aid that's said to have crossed into Sudan, especially to Darfur. How much relief is this aid expected to bring to the people?
Thank you. Nice to speak with you. The aid is going to cause a lot of relief to the people. I mean, the Sudan people, nearly more than 500,000 of the Sudan people have been affected by this conflict. I mean, it was projected that more than half of the population is going to face hunger. So this aid, as you know it, is going to be of much relief to the population of Sudan, considering that the war has been going on for over a year now. I mean, people have not been able to cultivate their lands, people have not been able to work. So the situation has been dire in Sudan, and this aid, however small it is going to be a welcome relief to them. The larger population is looking up to getting aid to this. So this is going to offer great help to the population of Sudan, however small it is, however the small section it is But the situation is very dire, and this is going to be of great help.
Now the Adre border is open, and the United Nations welcomed this development especially after a 6-month closure. Should we be expecting more aid in the coming days?
The Adre border is a very small section of the warring region. So up to now, you can't tell if you're going to expect more aid to go in. Even now, there are so many trucks that are waiting parked, but it's trickling in, in small bits, because it's not too widely open. It's still being controlled by the army. They control how much is going in. They control how much aid is going in. So we can't really say by now that we're going to expect aid now to flow into Sudan, because consider this is a very small section, and even so, the war has not stopped. The war is still going on. So what can really guarantee influx of aid will be if there was a ceasefire, but the ceasefire is not there. The war is still continuing. So even at this other border, the aid that is going on in is in very small bits. Up to now, there are trucks that are loaded with food aid, but they cannot go in at once. They have to be controlled, because up to now they still monitor the situation. They have to coordinate with the army. So we can't really say by now that this is going to open up so that more aid is going to come in. But really, it's a good start, really, to start with, to see this aid going on to these people who really need it. But for now, we really can't say that it's going to increase, or because the situation still remains very volatile, even for the aid workers who are there. So they have to monitor the situation and do a lot of coordination before they get in.
Indeed. Let me take you back to your ceasefire comments. What is the update with the war? Because, we know there had been peace talks that were called by the US last week in Geneva, but then both warring factions didn't show up. The army or the RSF were not present. So what is the update at this time?
Unfortunately, the situation is still very dire. There's no sign of any ending of the war. The ceasefire is not in sight at now. Like we mentioned there, the meeting that was called, both parties didn't show up. So this has been the situation. After an over a year of fighting, the situation in Sudan is still worse, with no end in sight. Some analysts say that this war could only be decided by the power of the bullet through the battlefield. But analysts say that these two factions really have sort of like balance in the power. They both sides, because no one wants to let go, because both sides feel that they are able to defeat the other side. So no one is willing to let go. No one is willing to come to the negotiating table. At least one will come to the negotiating table. They want to come to the negotiating table when they are at advantage. But right now, analysts say that they are sort of even. So both sides are still trying to push to see how much they are able to push the other side, so that when they come to the negotiating table, they come at an advantage point. So it's very unfortunate, because over a year of war, there's still no end in sight. And right now, we can't really say that there is any hope of this coming to an end soon, because we see there's no side is willing to yield to the other. Both sides are still very confident in their side that they are able to defeat the other side. So for now, the ceasefire, the talks that are there, all talks have not bore any fruits. But for the people of Sudan, they'll be hoping that sooner rather than later, that the negotiations, both parties can be able to come to the table and negotiate, so that they see an end to this war that has really devastated the country.
Indeed, Juma, that is the hope for, both warring factions to come together and see how this can end. Thank you so much, Juma Majanga, the VOA's reporter in Nairobi. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome back to the program. Kenya is ramping up its health and surveillance measures at its borders at the Malaba checkpoint, and that's along the Kenya-Uganda border. This is in response to the growing Mpox threat across Africa following the World Health Organization's declaration of global health emergency. Health workers are enforcing rigorous new protocols such as mandatory hand washing and temperature checks for all travelers at the border. Port Health Officer Paul Kibi says they have heightened alertness levels to be able to find and isolate travelers with high temperatures coming from neighboring countries, especially from the Democratic Republic of Congo, that is the epicenter.
Our alertness levels we have heightened so that we are able to capture all travelers coming from our neighboring countries, up to even those who are coming from DRC, Congo, which is actually a place where this disease has really affected many people who have raised temperature. We will be able to isolate for further questioning or more information to see the history of travel and so on, what other signs and symptoms could be that case is presenting. So in case again we find that someone has signs and symptoms that we've been given, then we are able to call a clinician from our health facility, that is Kocholia Hospital, to come and do further examination.
Somalia has issued a warning to suspend all Ethiopian Airlines flights to its territory due to an ongoing territorial dispute. The Somali Civil Aviation Authority says the airline has failed to respond to its concerns related to Somalia's sovereignty. Ethiopian Airlines has been given a deadline of Friday to address these issues, or all flights to Somalia will be suspended. The dispute escalated after Ethiopia signed an agreement back in January with the separatist region of Somaliland, securing access to 20 kilometers of Somaliland's coastline for 50 years in exchange for recognizing the territory. Somalia views this deal as a direct violation of its sovereignty, heightening tensions between the two countries. Mozambique's President Filipe Nyusi has launched an ambitious national roadmap to achieve early warnings for all for extreme weather by a target of the end of 2027. The country is playing a trailblazing role in a flagship global initiative to ensure that everyone is protected by early warnings of life-threatening weather-related hazards, which are becoming more extreme because of climate change. At a ministerial level ceremony in the capital Maputo, he also announced a significant new investment to improve basic weather and climate observations, which underpin early warnings. Well, situated on the southeast African coast, Mozambique is regularly battered by tropical cyclones that sweep across the Indian Ocean and by related coastal and inland flooding. Over 60% of the population resides in low-lying coastal areas, heavily dependent on rain-fed agriculture, increasing the risk to infrastructure and livelihoods. The impacts of climate change have also intensified these challenges, leading to significant losses and damages in the country. Well, specialists from Russian firm HeliDrive have been training a team of 200 pilots, doctors, nurses, and engineers to launch Zimbabwe's first ever air ambulance service. At Harare's Charles Prince Airport, an air ambulance takes off with a team of medics on board next to medical equipment, and Zimbabwe, as the country begins plans to operationalize the air ambulances. Local media reports that the service features 18 helicopters and is expected to be operational by the end of this year, offering essential emergency medical assistance across the country. The training is in cooperation with the Harare Central Hospital. The 18 advanced helicopters are reportedly going to be based in Harare, Bulawayo, Mutare, and Victoria Falls to be able to provide broad coverage across the whole country. Before the service starts, the pilots will have to complete up to 5 months of training to gain the necessary flight hours, experience, and qualifications.
Already we have started operationalizing the air ambulances. We are going to start with 6 helicopters, which are already converted to ambulances. We've had our health staff trained. We think we've trained about 20 staff to operate in those ambulances. And as we speak, our pilots, local pilots, are being trained.
Our team is happy to help the people of Zimbabwe. We can carry patients in critical conditions from the countryside to well-equipped hospitals.
So instead of bringing a patient to the hospital, we can literally bring a hospital to a patient by means of the helicopter. We already have trained local medics. It's happened in December. So 16 physicians and nurses and paramedics from Zimbabwe are already trained.
Dozens of people have rallied in Johannesburg to call on the South African government to ban coal exports to Israel as fighting continues in Gaza. Demonstrators dancing and singing held up Palestinian flags, banners and signs reading "Glencore coal fuels apartheid and genocide." The demonstration comes after Colombia banned coal exports to Israel on Thursday in response to concerns regarding the utilization of coal in weaponry against Palestinian territories. The decree was signed by Colombia's President Gustavo Petro, as well as Foreign Affairs, Finance, Mines and Trading ministers, 5 days prior to its effective date, August 22.
Our own government of national unity, so-called, still allows Glencore to send South African coal to Israel. What does it do there? It feeds the genocide.
Think about the electricity grid in the Zionist state. Think about the illegal settlements and how they power and expand those settlements. Think about the military machine. That must take a hell of a lot of energy. So if we can stop the coal sales from here, if Colombia, the biggest exporter, has already stopped those coal sales, we can really play a part in stopping the genocide, in crippling the Israeli Zionist state.
Comrades, effective today, the 22nd of August, is the effective date of Colombia stopping all coal exports. They announced it in June, but they issued a directive last week, signed by all of the ministries, especially the Ministry of Economic Affairs.
I am here because I believe in the freedom of the Palestinian people, and I'm very much against South Africa contributing to the genocide of Palestinian people in any form or shape. I think still having economic ties while being politically in line with Palestine doesn't make sense, and I think our government needs to do more in terms of cutting economic ties with Israel in all forms: energy, weaponry, barbed wire. I heard a South African company builds barbed wire for Israel. So I just think on an economic front, our country can be.
And finally, elderly ladies in Johannesburg's suburb of Cosmos City have been honing their boxing skills. South African grannies attend a bi-weekly training session organized by former South African bodybuilder Claude Mafosa. The grannies do pad and bag work as well as exercise drills as their coaches assist the women with their training. Volunteer coach Muthunzi Mafosa, whose father founded the initiative, said that the Boxing Grannies program began in 2013 to improve access to healthy activities for elderly women. He adds that the training is free for all participants, with donations from young people supporting the initiative. Participants are in their 60s and 70s, with the oldest boxer being 86 years old. The grannies attend the 2-hour boxing training sessions twice a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
From 60 going up, that's where we normally don't even charge anything to others. But the young ones come and donate. Any donation we take, but the grannies we train them for free twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays. Some of them came with arthritis, high blood pressure, you name all these diseases or illnesses that caught in yourself in your later stage. But our results are very, very stunning, if I can say, because some of them are no longer in medication, of which this benefits cardio, which is heart cardiovascular. It also benefits bones. It also benefits mental health.
I came here for so long because it's healthy. And before I had a terrible high blood pressure. Now my high blood pressure is okay. I get tired, not really, because I used to gym 2 days a week. That's why I come here twice a week.
I train the Gogos. I'm a volunteer here at the gym. I would say training the Gogos is very, it is quite fulfilling, if I do say so. And it has taught me a lot because it has taught me patience.
And on that boxing note, we end Network Africa for today and for the week. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Layo Olarinde. Have a lovely weekend.